Come on, Steve, try to be optimistic. I was going to say, as a practical matter, we have the project in town, Soma Grand, and we sold a whole lot of the units before the world fell apart. And since the beginning of the year, well, we died during October, November, December, of course, but since the beginning of the year, we've actually been very active, and in great part it's because the Infinity has completely cratered its pricing, and therefore we have to chase it to keep up. But that good news is we're now in the price range where we can, some of the buyers can afford Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac loans. That wasn't our intent. But, but that volume has picked up, and they have been better at underwriting loans. And in fact, the general banking world has been a little bit better. So we haven't been finding the same difficulty that we were having last year at some of the lower end prices, the one bedrooms. Two bedrooms are still a problem for us, because once you get above 700 or 800 or 900 or $1 million, then you're into a different type of buyer who has different down payment issues and different loan amount requirements. But in that price point, it's been a lot better.
Mike, even for the, I mean, you're fortunate and you got out of the ground and got a great product. But for those people that are have condominium projects, Fannie and Freddie are probably the only way to the extent that the income levels are there. Fannie and Freddie are the only way to really finance those individual units, and then they just keep ratcheting up their criteria, right? So that's it's even harder to, even if you've got a sale program, even if someone walks through the door with a decent down payment, Fannie wants to see their pre-sale requirements have just obliterated that financing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But I don't care. No,
What will
no, it's
be
right. If you've got a new project that is in that level, you are chasing your tail. Yeah.
Other comments?
We are very fond of infill housing here in San Francisco, and over the course of the last 15 years, we've been relatively successful in producing that kind of housing, and that has made those of us who are interested in and concerned about the vitality of cities and urban centers very happy. Will urban infill continue as a viable housing option given the difficulty of that kind of housing production? Will demand guarantee its longevity, or are we in for a change of course even in San Francisco? Michael?
You know, I think in the long run, the demand for urban infill housing is there, and it will be there. And I think we'll see it as one of the first categories to come back. I think Michael's right. It's probably not going to be in the form of necessarily high-rise condominium towers, but I think if you can find the right price point, there is still a really sort of strong latent demand for housing in the city of San Francisco, which we have to distinguish from the greater Bay Area. It's a very different creature. You know, I think the challenge for the state to help support that ideal is, you know, there's a lot of lip service in California paid to the idea of urban infill development and combating climate change and sprawl. Ultimately, we need, as a state, to better align our transportation funding and policies and our housing funding and policies around cities if we're really going to make a difference around this. All too often, we are competing for really transformative, very clean, very important rail projects like Transbay and bringing high-speed rail and bringing Caltrains into downtown San Francisco and connecting the entire region with highway projects across the Central Valley and Southern California. And you know, they split the baby, and a little goes to this and a little goes to that. But I think if we're really going to support urban infill housing, and I do think there's a latent demand for it, there needs to be a shift in policy where more of the housing and transportation dollars are directed there.
Other comments?
You know, the issue in San Francisco is cost. I mean, it's outrageously expensive and time-consuming to build in San Francisco. And the risk and the reward to the developer isn't quite there yet. And right now, it's all about subsidies, state and local subsidies. The state has had, there was a Prop 1C that was passed a year and a half ago to support affordable housing, to give the necessary subsidies to get these projects done. The state shut it. The state was unable to access the capital markets. They could not get to the bond markets in order to get the cash in. It's just been within the last 30 days that there's been a unfreezing of these monies to actually fund the commitments that were actually made a year and a half ago. Lenders who lend against the commitments of state and local governments to fund in the future don't trust the state and local governments. They can't. They have suffered losses as a result of these freezes. So, you know, I think in San Francisco in particular, it's going to be difficult. I think the demand's there. I mean, people need housing, but you know, the funding of that is extremely challenging.
I always think, I actually don't try to always think of this, but I think of real estate as going to the same movie every 5 years. It does the same thing, and you keep thinking there's going to be a different ending, and there isn't. But sometimes it's in black and white, and sometimes it's color, and sometimes it's 3D and Blu-ray, but it's still the same damn ending. Land goes to zero. Land has no value at this part of the cycle. You could have free land in San Francisco, and no one will build a building, just like last time and just like the time before. So it's the same movie. It's caused, as Michael said, by different factors. We do it to ourselves, the dot-coms do it to us, the guys on Wall Street, Steve's friends did it to us, you know, whatever it is. You know,
They put you in the center.
yeah. Whoever it is, somebody does it to us. It's never our complete fault. And that's how it is. So here we are. You know, land is worth zero, and we wait.
Is there anything San Francisco can do to help itself? And then we can talk about how we manifest the political will to do that. But is there anything San Francisco could do to help itself in this environment?
Well,
Michael Covarrubias, its victim?
Well, no. Look. I think the answer is, as we've already heard, the sort of big picture macroeconomics that until we fast forward the movie, there's almost nothing that we can do. What we can do, what we can control, is to try to prepare for the inevitable upswing, because it will go back. It always does, and it will again. And what we can do for that is to, you know, what I refer to as reducing friction for capital investment in San Francisco. And probably the single biggest element of that for the, in the real estate sector is to create better certainty, better reliability, and better efficiency in the planning and entitlement process. And that's been a holy grail we've been after for a long time. In a perverse way, our dysfunction, which has made us such a high barrier to entry market, has helped protect financially some of the folks who've had the acumen to get through our crazy process. But I think given the severity of this downturn, and particularly the globalization of capital's going to say, look, I can go to a lot of different places. And probably the single most important thing that we can do to prepare for the upswing is to improve that process so that investors can look at San Francisco and have a decent idea about what they're going to get.
That would be fantastic. Well, thank God for the HAC. That's all I have to say.
Let me chime in just a
Please.
little bit by agreeing wholeheartedly that there's very little that can be done except looking to the future. And the future for San Francisco and the Bay Area is quite bright. I mean, there are a number of revolutions going on around the world, and some of them are political, and I won't talk about that. Others are economic and largely financial, and others are more in the economic production side. And three revolutions that are relevant to San Francisco are the clean technology revolution, stem cell biotechnology, and the digital revolution. The digital revolution is ongoing. There's a long ways to go. And San Francisco and the Bay Area is going to benefit very substantially from all three of these. And it's just waiting and positioning itself well to take advantage of what's to come is what's most important. Not doing anything, it's going to be very hard to fix what's going on right now, but look to the future.